So I would love to start with the premise is something that as soon as, for those of you that don't know, this amazing film did the producing last year as a rough cut. And what struck me immediately about it was the premise. So I'd just love to hear from the both of you as you co-wrote it. How did you come up with that? Like, what was that spark that became Mountains?
We tell the story all the time, but
Yeah, we do. But where do we start? When I moved back to Miami in 2014, I started realizing a shift in the neighborhood. I grew up like around Little Haiti. My mother landed there in the 80s when she moved to Miami. It's kind of where all Haitians sort of start their American life. And so I was really concerned with what was going on, and I tried kind of going into like community organizing and immediately got burnt out. And I was just trying to figure out how to go back to film to sort of amplify what was going on in the community and what I was afraid what was happening, which was, rapid gentrification of the neighborhood. A couple years later, a granting organization, Ulay Arts, started a cinematic arts residency where, they kind of like kickstarted shorts filmmakers into feature filmmakers. And we weren't going to apply. We were kind of like joking about like different premises we would like apply with because we didn't really feel ready to make a feature or worthy of it. And so at the time we were working in another really gentrified neighborhood called Wynwood, which used to be like a Puerto Rican stronghold, and now it's an arts district. And one day we were like leaving the office, going to lunch, and we saw a demolition worker who just finished demolishing yet another house in the neighborhood. And he said goodbye to his colleagues and walked across the street to like the still suburban part of the neighborhood. And I still was joking about premises, so I looked at Robert and I was like, okay, a demolition worker was so close to his work sites that he could walk home. And then
I was like, okay,
he
we're ready.
laugh.
We're ready.
And so a couple days later, we like pulled an all-nighter, and we were like the last application in, and they selected us. So that started kind of our journey in late 2018 with this film.
I think we decided to set it in Little Haiti because Wynwood at that time it was already like so unrecognizable and so far gone, and gentrification had come and gone and taken it, and so Little Haiti is the next neighborhood that is happening to right now in Miami. One of the next couple. And we wanted to use the neighborhood as a vehicle to be able to tell, all these stories of all this stuff that Monica and I think about on a daily basis, which is how racially segregated Miami is and how different our lives as the children of immigrants is from our parents who are blue-collar workers and very working class and have different aspirations for what their lives look like too, and what success means to them and what America means to them. And so all that stuff we just packed into this little story about the demolition worker crossing the street.
And you did it so beautifully.
Yeah.
Something I loved about it is it's like a slightly unusual structure in that we break and we go with Esperance to on her day, and then we spend the night with Junior. So how did you come up with that structure? Like, when did you know like this is not going to fit into a traditional narrative?
I think we always, like, even in our application to Ulay, we're like, this is not an American indie. We want to make like a Caribbean story, so it's gonna feel the way Caribbean people are, or Caribbean stories are. And so we're gonna sit in it, and it's gonna be hot and sticky, and we're gonna take our time with this. And I think with that, we felt really flexible with how we wanted to structure the film. I think we just really wanted to spend more time, and we could have stayed with Xavier the whole time, but I think we loved our characters, and we wanted you to see who they were as well outside of him. Like, I didn't want Esperance to just be there for whatever his needs are. You know what I mean? Like, she has a life. She's holding the whole family down by herself. This is how busy her day is. This is how she takes care of her family. This is what her talents are, you know, and same for Junior. And I thought it would be also a good way, you know, with Junior especially, it's like, this is Xavier's story, but how can we tell you, you know, everything that's going on internally with him? So we figured, like, him just sort of telling us on stage about his life, about why things are so tense at home, was the perfect way to get to know him as a really funny comedian, but also as someone that's at odds with his family.
Yeah, that was so well done, and also just really funny. And I've had the pleasure of seeing the film 3 times now, and it's funny every time.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about your actors, and of course, you have your incredible lead here. But what was your approach to casting? I know that this is your first feature as a director, so I'd love to hear about, you know, your approach to casting and also your approach to working with actors.
Yeah, I have a background in casting, so it's something I feel like I'm strong at. And
Clearly.
and with this, I knew that doing an open call was going to be useless, because I need like 2 50+ fluent Haitian speakers in Miami. That's going to give me like 5 weeks of their lives, and that's not going to be, you know, the person with the full-time job. So we had an intern at the time, and we just had her like scrubbing through Haitian movies or anything with Haitian people in it, like Netflix shows, whatever, and she would like bring us clips, and we would just like watch them. And we saw this film. We were watching for 2 other actors. We were about to turn it off because we didn't feel like they worked, and then we like scrolled like right to this exact part where Atibon showed up, and he had, you know, he was like the friend character. He had like some side role, but something about him made both Robert and I say at the same time, like, who is that? And we did some digging, some Facebook stalking, and we saw he was friends with another Haitian filmmaker that we love, who was in town that day for Miami Film Festival. So we're like, we have to go to that party, and like we like name dropped, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna give you this number right now.
That's my good friend.
She's like, that's
She's
so
perfect. Wow, really?
And then with Sheila, I mean, we're auditioning so many Haitian actresses, but I went to a concert, like a show, and I wasn't planning on it, but I don't know, something told me to go that day, and she showed up, and she was dancing. She's a dancer. She's never acted before, actually. And I just loved her look, and I knew the people who made the show, so I reached out to them, like, can you get me in contact with her? And when she turned on her Zoom, like, she already like looked exactly how I imagined Esperance, and she's also brilliant and really funny, and can do improv really well, so that was great. And then with Chris, I found him on TikTok a year before we started shooting. Like, he had some viral video. I knew I always wanted an actual stand-up comedian, and so I wrote his name down on a list, and I kind of forgot about him. But when we did the audition, you know, he turned his Zoom on, and he was like standing up, and he was off book already. And one of the first things he said was like, when I read the character description, I thought you guys were following me, because literally everything in this, like, I dropped out of school, I live at home with my parents, my dad and I aren't really on good terms right now, I'm a comedian, you know? So yeah, it was just him, and he's also never acted before, but he invited us to a stand-up show, and we like fell in love with him.
So brilliant.
Yeah.
You know, we were on the fence. Also, the character, we didn't really know if the character of Junior was going to be a good, talented stand-up comedian, like the character yet. You know? But then we saw Chris, and we were like, oh no, Junior is amazing.
Yeah.
And Chris he wrote the jokes, you know.
He actually wrote, those were his jokes.
Those are his jokes from his set,
yeah.
from his real set.
That's amazing.
But then also like the rest of, I just want to shout out also the rest of the ensemble cast. Bashir Sylvan is here, like amazing. As Xavier's brother in my favorite scene in the movie, the domino scene and the party scene, and you know, it's like roles like this that are like, you know, we're like so blessed to have folks like Bashir on set who were able to fly from LA and donate their time, you know, and really like believe in us and be there with us and help like really fill out the movie and make it what it really is, you know. So thank you for doing that with us.
I would like to hear, what made you say yes? Like, what drew you to this project?
What made me say yes? After the first conversation, and there's something about the energy that was attractive, that was titillating is the word. I said, okay, I can be comfortable with these people. And they sent me the script. It was a short script. It was very short. It's like, oh man, you're gonna put me to work. You know, and you know, I did my meditation and I said, you know, let me do it. You know, it was, you know, a month. You know, I have a brand new baby. She's, you know, she wasn't 4 yet, right? I said, I'm gonna raise my baby. So I went to Miami, and they, and their beauty, their kindness, they made my stay in Miami one of the most wonderful experiences I've had as an artist. Yeah.
Thank God you said yes, because you were we were the first person that we auditioned and the only person that we auditioned, because we were like, if we're not doing it with this dude,
You would have a great film. Yeah. Yeah, and also I could relate to the characters. You know, you know, my son was an artist. You know, I could relate to him. Yeah, I could relate to Xavier also. You know, I'm an artist, a Haitian artist. You know, I was supposed to be a doctor. You know, so I can relate to all of it. And I said, okay, let's go have fun, man. Yeah. That's how, and it was, you know, again, what blessing. Thank you guys again. I keep thanking them for, you know, taking a chance with me, you know, for making this thing happen. And, you know, and I've created new family, you know, and, you know, so, yeah, I hope that answers the question.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, the question, yeah.
And I'd love to dive into the relationship between Xavier and Junior, because for me, that's the relationship that anchors the film. And I feel like as an immigrant myself, like, you're working through those pressures that Xavier articulates so beautifully when he's like, I didn't have a choice. And then in that beautiful final conversation where he says, what I can give you is choice. How did you develop that relationship? Was it always the goal to have it be such a cathartic ending?
Yeah, I think it was, well, first of all, I think, you know, Junior is an extension of our own, like, you know, ourselves as like first gen kids. The part where Xavier is like, are you sure you're going in the right direction? Like, literally was said to me. Like, I felt attacked. I was like, what do you mean? And so, yeah, we just wanted to find a way to talk about that experience of, you know, we're not comedians, but filmmaking is just as silly, I think. So, like, you know, trying to prove yourself to your family that, like, if you just hold on a little bit, like, we promise, like, this is gonna make sense, and sorry for not paying rent. You know, so yeah, we just wanted to find a way to talk about, that tension and our own experiences as first-gen kids. And I think that that final conversation is a dream. I think it's a fantasy.
Yeah.
I don't think that when we were shooting it, someone on the camera team who's Haitian was like listening, and she was like, I wish my dad wouldn't talk to me like this. Like this would never happen. So yeah, I think we were looking for like a cathartic moment where, you know, a Haitian dad like sort of puts his pride to the side and like, you know, finally realizes that, you know, his son is a reflection of him. Xavier is just as ambitious as Junior, they just have different dreams. I just wanted, you know, to give that space to every first gen kid to like hear what they've always wanted to hear.
Yeah, it was beautifully done. Like I agree that it feels like a fantasy, but also a earned fantasy in the story. Something else that struck me was the use of color and also the lack of color. And there are a couple of moments that stood out to me, like the house is white, and then when you go and see where Junior's working, it's also a space that feels almost desaturated.
Yeah.
But I imagine that was on purpose, so they'll just talk about the use of color in the film.
Yeah, I think, well, Little Haiti is a very, very colorful neighborhood, one of the most colorful, most vibrant areas of Miami, and we use color in the architecture to sort of show what the neighborhood's moving into and moving away from. And so every time they demolish something, what they build back up is like stark white, you know, like so like slowly like color is being like drained from the neighborhood and from Miami, which historically is also a very colorful city, but yeah, it's just becoming bland.
It's changing. It's desaturating in a weird way. The city, yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to, you know, show that any way we can. Not only with his like dream house, but where Junior works. Miami Beach, when they go out there, everything's pretty white. So yeah, that was a conscious decision.
Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, those were real demolitions? How did you pull that off?
Are there any SAG reps in the room?
Does anybody work for the Screen Actors Guild? No? Okay. There were no stunts in this movie if there's anyone from SAG in here.
Of course not. Of course not.
Right. It was fun. I mean, the thing is, demolitions like this happen every single day in Miami. There's so many demolitions every single day. So we were like, there has to be a way for us to get access to these. And we couldn't. And we had made 100 calls or something like that. And I put somebody on it to help me with it, and it was weeks and they couldn't figure it out. And then finally, I was gonna pull the. It was that we had saved it off for the last week of shooting, and I was almost gonna pull the plug and be like, we have to just figure it out and then come back another time. And it's just, we talk all the time about how there's so many movies that don't want to get made because they challenge you every single day, and this was definitely a challenge. But Mountains wanted to get made because days before we were gonna pull the plug on the movie. On that section of the movie, that I got a call like, hey, I got a voicemail from you a month ago. Are you still looking for demolitions? We have one that starts Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can come, you can have full access. We were like, oh my God, thank God,
Yeah.
So that's how we did it. And it was crazy. The first day on the demolition sites, you remember, it was like the machines are a lot bigger than we thought that they were, and they're right in your face. So it was really fun to be there, but kind of dangerous, but really fun.
Well, it looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So great job. As I previously mentioned, this project went through the producing lab, and you also had support for a number of nonprofit arts organizations.
Yeah.
So I'd just love for you to talk a little bit about like what role like this type of support has played during the life of the film. Huge. So we went to, I think the first thing we did, well, obviously Ulite Arts was the first, our first supporter for the movie and the impetus for why the film was even written, and so they were unbelievable partners. And then we took
the film, we wanted to put the movie and expose ourselves to kind of like a national network of colleagues, and so we took the film to the Gotham. We were selected to participate in the Gotham Project Market, which was a week of industry meetings during development to try to figure out some more support for the film, and that's how we it was huge. I mean, we met our sales agent there, and who's Marissa at CAA, who helped us.
Wonderful.
Amazing, and she helped us finance the film, find financing for the film, and we met a lot of great partners and colleagues there. And then obviously the producing lab at Film Independent was huge because we came in with a rough cut, and we got so much feedback from 5 of my other colleagues that were also in the lab with us, who are like my good friends to this day. And obviously, like, we're back at Film Independent now, which, by the way, thank you so much for having us here. I mean, it's very generous, and the lab experience at the lab was very generous. But it really just U.S. in Progress in Poland was really cool. All these folks that really like took a chance on the film and opened us up to a whole world of possibilities that we just, regionally speaking, don't really have access to. New Orleans Film Society is also like huge supporter of Monica's and my careers from 5-6 years ago when we did our first thing together, and they helped support this film. So I mean, it just wouldn't have gotten made without that support. Yeah.
Well, I'd love to take advantage of the fact that your editor is here.
Yeah.
And for y'all to talk about your collaboration and the post process.
Yeah, well, to be honest, the script was very short, so it made me a little bit nervous. But then when I saw the footage, it made me not nervous. I felt very comfortable, just like exploring with the actors what you all did during the takes, and just like how far could I stay on it, and how far can, for example, the scene in the bed with you and the wife, and they're having this conversation about Junior and the house, and then it sort of veers off and it becomes about hot dogs. and I could have cut before that, but I felt like that's the heart of the scene in a way, even though it's not the plot, so to speak, but just living in those moments that are outside of a traditional narrative and not so conventional, and just really feeling the texture of these characters. That was something that they trusted me with, and then when we sat down and were cutting the film and getting it to a picture lock, it was just like it's really fun, honestly.
Yeah, Jonathan is also a writer-director. He makes beautiful genre films, but he also, for some reason, only edits Haitian films. So he edited a friend of our, Edson Jean's first film, Ludi, almost all in Creole. Oh, no, part of it is in Creole.
Yeah.
You did our friend's
I did Compa,
short. Yeah.
did La Vie, I did Tifi,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm doing Edson's
No
second.
Creole.
Yeah,
But we just
and,
really trusted his sensibilities, not only with these other projects, but also with his own feature.
Yeah.
And it's definitely been one of our favorite collaborations. We had a really lovely post process,
Yeah.
and I know like not a lot of feature directors can say that. It's usually a nightmare for others, but it was so smooth, and yeah, we
was
just
great.
get along really well.
We were editing in the Ulite studio, so we had a projector that we would just sit on the couch and watch it and just talk about many other things. And I also related to the story. Both of my parents are Colombian immigrants, so I did understand the feeling and the pressures of like being a first generation kid, and I already knew and loved Robert and Monica's work, so it was just, you asked me and I was like, yeah, I need to think about it, but then I pretty much said yes right away. like I'll think about it, but yeah.
And I don't know if this has happened to anybody here that's a filmmaker, but when you watch the first assembly cut of the movie, it's like the first time that everything's laid out on the timeline, unrefined. it's like we call it the suicide cut because you want to kill yourself. It's so bad, you know? But this is the first time that we watched the first assembly, and Monica and I were like, holy shit. Jonathan, what did you do? It's so good. It was really, really good from the pre-cut, you know?
I think the key is sound, because it really dictates pacing and feeling. And I think maybe as a director, when I like to see a first cut, it's really hard for me to picture some of these things, like even just the people outside talking or the cars driving by, like all of that helps build the world so much, or even cues like phones ringing, and I think that really like helps. And also like the temp music. I think I chose a lot of those songs that are playing in the cars, and some of them we changed, but some of them we kept, and I feel like that just helps inform the characters too.
Yeah, so smart.
Monica, you have a background as a creative producer, and so I'd love to hear a little bit about how that informed your work as a director, and what it was that told you this story is one that I need to direct.
I think being a creative producer made me feel as though, you know, I'm there from like the script. I'm doing edits. I'm helping with casting. I'm helping with directing sometimes. I'm in the edit. So, you know, I felt as though like my work doing that would definitely make this a breeze to kind of transition to directing. Not true at all. And it was like in the middle of set, I was realizing, I was like, oh, like I'm daddy now. Like, but I was mommy before. I didn't realize like producing is like a nurturing role. And you're taking care of everyone, and you're kind of telling white lies to make sure that they eat their vegetables, and you're doing all these things, and now I'm like in charge, and I it's generally you only think of yourself, and you only think of what's best for the vision. But I felt like I was able to marry those roles because I didn't want to be like, is brusque a word? Like I didn't want to bulldoze I have like a pretty good sense of, not just producing, but I've been in wardrobe before, I've been a PA, I've been, I've played a lot of different roles on set, and so I wanted to make sure that I could still somehow take care of everyone, and make this a more collaborative set, and make this a set where, yes, I'm the director and I have final say, but there were several times when the script supervisor had a suggestion that we could try, or I remember that time when it was one of my favorite times on set when we were doing the dinner scene, and you kind of stopped and was like, this doesn't make sense, like this translation doesn't make sense. I don't think that I would say that like that. And we're like, okay, so let's stop and think about what you should say. And then all the other Haitian crew people on set was like, what about this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, that doesn't really work. And it became like this really beautiful collaborative set where, it didn't have to be hierarchical, but, horizontal instead. And I think, my work as a producer afforded me some insight into the roles of others and how they can collaborate outside of those roles.
Yeah, and I'd love to dive deeper into your collaboration with Atibon, and how did you approach it? Like, how did you approach collaborating with your actors? How active were they in shaping their roles?
Yeah, super active. I mean, like they have said, the script was super short, but that was by design. I think that, I don't know, I think it's kind of the same thing I was just talking about. We weren't super interested in dictating every single word, because I think that, I don't know, maybe we feel confident that it would come across, or we wanted it to be really natural. And so we wanted to, from the very beginning, do like really controlled improv.
Mm-hmm.
So some scenes were just action lines.
Descriptions of
Yeah.
like this is what happens in the scene, and we would
And then he says something like this,
right.
you know?
So this is the beginning, this is the end, and we have to get from here to here somehow, and we'll figure that out in rehearsal, or we'll figure that out on set. You know how to what specifically to say. You know.
And how did you approach that as an actor?
Well, this was actually, I worked with another Haitian director, Patricia Benoit. Some of you might know who she is. So when I did Stones with Patricia, I only saw the script the day I get on set. She wouldn't let me, you know. So I had that as a point of reference, and also, like she said, you know, she gave us the latitude to travel with the character, and she guided us. You know, this is she guided us with with the freedom to take it to the right place. So
we had a week of rehearsals, so we were able to. Well, they were able to meet as a family and bond, but we were also able to like almost build the scenes there. So like that bedroom scene, I think, there was no dialogue really. There was like some things I was like, I want you to say this for sure.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's like Robert said, like we're starting here, we're gonna get to point B, and then we're gonna end at point C. So, you know who you are, you know who your character is. Let's get there and build that journey.
And we build, you know. You're not breathing.
I'm just thinking about what you would have had to go through to put yourself through. You know,
it was
such a vulnerable.
Oh yeah, it was.
That I made you do.
Yeah. But I enjoyed the journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed the journey.
Or even, I think everyone that we had, first of all, Haitians are really funny, and that's why it's a funny movie, like just naturally. And so I think, I don't know, something about it, like we can just do improv really well. So like Bashir, I don't even know if you read the script. Like you showed up.
Y'all just gave them apart.
Yeah, we just gave you a couple pages, and again, like it wasn't all. Yeah. And so what would happen?
It says something about the culture as well too. I think because unfortunately there's not enough reference for Haitian culture. So it was necessary to give us enough freedom to be able to bring the authenticity of it, because there's not that many references and all we have is our experiences. So it was so beautiful, just like you said, she gave us the freedom, but like a shepherd, she was like, all right, go back this way, all right, go back this way, and get us to the place that we need to be. And especially for the Haitian culture, because we don't see it as enough. I hope that they continue to do that, because what happens is when they write it, they take away the moment about the hot dog. They take the moments about all the moments that you're like, oh my gosh, and as a Haitian watching this, it's so authentic. I know if somebody would have tried to write that down, there's no way they would have put that down, because it's a culture thing.
Exactly.
You know, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I had fun in that scene. It's played.
Or even think about your domino scene.
Yeah.
Another thing that we would do is like I would just like let you guys go, and they're both so funny and we're fast friends and just played off of each other. But obviously the scene was kind of too long and awkward, and I think shepherding is a really interesting word to say. I was like, okay, let's do another one. Don't say that anymore. Let's, and so every time we would do our take, it'd just be tighter and tighter and tighter until we had a scene.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting process, but
A lot of fun.
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
What fun. What pleasure. Again, no, really, these two, I'm really thankful to have had the opportunity to work under the direction. Monica, what a lovely and goddess. No, this is coming from my experience. What a lovely human being. I wish every actor to have an opportunity to work under a direction. So but hey, keep me in mind, okay? But I say, I want to work with you more. No, it was just one of the most pleasant experiences that I've had, as an actor. So thank you so much again, guys.
Thank you, Atibon.
So I'd love to know if anybody in the audience has a question. Yes.
First of all, I just want to say, Bomba guy.
Yes.
I appreciate you portraying us not in a character way, but real people. It's a very tender story. You did a great job with your cast, all you guys. Question to Jonathan, being that you don't speak Haitian Creole, how is your process editing a language you don't really grasp?
Yeah, I feel like this might sound a little precious, but I think like the filmmaking has its own language and its own rhythm, but that's not always consistent because I don't know Haitian Creole, so I can't just live off that. But I had Al Plancher come in. He's another Haitian filmmaker from Miami, and we're all just like this small community of filmmakers, and we all work on each other's stuff. I've edited his stuff, and so he was in the studio with me translating as I was cutting. And so figuring out how to build the scenes was hard, and it was even harder because of the language barrier. But having Al there giving me the scenes with the subtitles on it really helped. And then for the English and Spanish, I know those.
Okay.
Yes, great film, and I really enjoyed every minute of it. And one question that I had, the art direction was super, and the kitchen was like home to me. The paintings and the carvings and the beautiful sculptures. I mean, to me, the art direction was like super, and it didn't miss a beat from me. So that's what I liked about it, and the aspect of the colors, the inside and outside of the Miami house. I haven't been to Little Haiti, but I've read a lot about it, how the community is dying with gentrification. And I was waiting to see the library, but I didn't see it. So the outside library that is big in Miami, but I didn't see it, but that's fine. But the art direction was really wonderful.
Mapu, you talking about Mapu?
The bookstore, the bookstore.
I think it's in there actually.
It's still.
I didn't see
The inside is
Not the
Inside.
inside, but
The
yeah,
outside
it's
is-
it's
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
But
closed.
it was
closed.
closed,
Yeah.
which it happens a lot. He's getting old, and
But-
things are changing. So production design. We both of them were kind of first time art directors, or Helen Pena, who's Dominican, is a filmmaker as well, and Nadia Wolf was their art director, who is a Haitian artist, and they work in textile and installation. And I picked them. Helen I met Helen as a community organizer. They know Miami, they know Caribbean culture, and they were kind of trying to be a producer, but realized they didn't have a gift for it. But we're so good at creating spaces. They've created spaces in many different ways, and so I kind of auditioned them, so to speak, talked to them about what's going on, and they got it immediately.
Yeah.
And so we were able to give them that space. And Nadia, I saw the same day I saw Sheila, I went to an art show right before, and I saw Nadia's installation where they made this table. It was like a Haitian table, but every piece of the table was a different textile or a different material, but it was all the same culture. So I was just you're brilliant. I just
It
want
was-
you
yeah.
around. And so you know, together they were already friends, and you know, they were so precious about so many details, like the bedroom, like if you like watch again, like all the clutter that's like on the side table was like perfect to each of the characters, like side of the bed, for example, or like Nadia sewed the pillowcase, you know, like they were like super precious with every detail, and I'm really happy that that came across. And it was in my mother's house too.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
I made them stay in the bedroom while we shot there, so they took very good care of it.
The Vicks on the night table.
The Vicks, yeah.
The
Vicks with the next to the lotto ticket, yeah. The pills, yeah.
I've gone way over on time, but if anyone has like one last question.
How much, I feel like some of it you kind of explained with how your script was much more up to, kind of, not interpretation, but just up to finding it with your collaborators, but so much I think of also the script was, or just the performances, you left so much unsaid in a great way. You didn't over-explain the culture, so it's like, I'm not Haitian, but like, so much of what I saw was like, oh yeah, I recognize so many of these cultural beats from my just growing up, and when you didn't explain it, you just let it be, and you just kind of let it exist, and let the audience, trust the audience that they're gonna find it. Like how much of that was intentional or planned going into it, or was more like in the edit, like, oh, let's cut that out because we don't need to say that, or you know, how much was, what was said on set during the performance, you said, oh, I don't need to say that anymore when we got to the edit.
I think we didn't like write this to like, I think we wrote this like for us, like for people in Miami, for Haitians, so we didn't have to like explain what things were, because that's not, it wasn't, I don't even think we anticipated like it would be, you know,
At TIFF
At
and
TIFF or,
here
you know,
at Film Independent or
but even if it was, you know, like one of the films we watched when we were developing this was Fernando Frias's I'm No Longer Here, which was on Netflix, and something we loved about it was that I could tell that it was like a richer experience the closer you were to it. So like if you're from the West Coast, great. If you're Mexican, but if you're from Monterrey, like I'm sure like there's so many nuances that are so specific that make it like so much more of a joy. And I think that we're thinking about that, like if you're like a Haitian from Little Haiti, like it's gonna be, you get everything. But even if you're not, you're still gonna, you're gonna understand the story. You're gonna understand this family. You know, we don't have to explain that they love each other, or we don't have to explain why there's tension there. Like these are very global themes that we're talking about, even though it's with a hyper-specific culture.
Yeah.
Not to ask me the question, but my stylistic aspect of the film was like this text and the radio voices when he's driving, and that we're talking something totally different, but apropos regarding Haiti and the politics behind it. And this is something that I grew up with, and the radio is always constant, and the kitchen was like perfect for me. She's always putting it on.
Yeah.
There was always music in the background. But I wanted to be more news, but the news was when he's driving, that was like brought it back home to me that the Haitian politics is always there.
Yeah.
And so that's what this film was like powerful for me.
Thank you.
That's what I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think we're just interested in making sure that. We gotta go.
Yeah. So way over. I'm so sorry, but it was such a great conversation.
No, thank you.
I'll talk to you. Thank you.